Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to talk about Azure Virtual Network. There are multiple use cases where we want to implement one or more virtual networks. It's quite similar to on-premises networks. Some cases we have flat network where we have same address space. But some requirements we want to create multiple network segments. So it can be sometimes a security concerns where we configure multiple segments like perimeter network, production network, and also your corporate network. So when you create multiple networks, it's in a way secure way to placing or placement of your resources. There are certain resources that we want to expose to external users. For an example, edge mail servers or web front-end servers. These servers we want users to access from external networks. But some important data we will be keeping in a separate network segment. So then stray visitors or external users will not be able to access directly our data. So these services can be mailbox servers or MBX servers or database servers can be placed in a separate environment. So because this can be multiple reasons, but today I'm going to take you through virtual networking. So virtual network is simply an address space within Azure tenant. So within virtual network, you can create one or more subnets. So basically, you are creating subnets using address space that you define in virtual network. So when you have multiple subnets within virtual network, so you can route your traffic between these subnets. So you can have any number of subnets and you can have single gateway subnet to communicate out of your virtual network. So I hope you understand now the concept pretty much. So when you need to define multiple address spaces, which means you need to create multiple virtual networks. And within virtual network, you can further segment your network by using subnet concept. So as I said, virtual network is address space, and then within virtual network, we can have number of subnets and only one gateway subnet. So for an example, take a use case where you want to connect your on-premises network to virtual network. That also possible. And you can create one or more virtual networks in a single region or multiple regions. And there are technologies behind where you can connect virtual network irrespective of the region, you can connect them. So best way or one of the always possible way is using VPN gateways, right? So, and within subnet, you can associate certain additional components known as NSGs, network security groups. Oh, and also you can connect routing tables. So routing tables simply determine the routing path or traffic. And also using NSGs or network security groups, you can filter, allow or deny traffic incoming or outgoing. And then subnets is the component where we connect our devices. I hope you understand the total concept. Let's see how we can configure those in real Azure environment. So here I'm going to show you how to create a virtual network and components within virtual networks and subnets and other associated components within subnets. Let's begin. So this is my Azure tenant, Azure portal. So if I go into all services here, left top menu, and if you click on create resource, you can simply find out virtual networks under networks category. If you go further down here, you would see a networking, and then you can find out here virtual networks. So if you click on virtual networks, you will be redirected to the portal where you can create virtual network. As I said, it's a address space within your Azure tenant. All right. So there you can configure basic configurations like virtual network, right? So first of all, you want to select subscription, and then you need to specify resource group. So in this case, I'm going to select one of the already existing resource group. I hope you know what is a resource group as of now. Resource group is a logical container which holds multiple resources. Demo VNet, right? And then I'm going to click next. So basically it will create my virtual network here. So I'm going to say click create. So it will create my virtual network. So it's easy to create. Then let's see how we can configure virtual network within Azure portal. So this is virtual network that I have created. So if you go into address space, you would see I have defined an address space already. So my address space is 10.2.0.0.16. So this is my virtual network address space. So you can have, if you need more address spaces, you can have multiple virtual network. So if you go into subnets, I can create either one subnet or multiple subnets. So within my virtual network, I have created few subnets as subnet 2, subnet 3, a gateway subnet. So you would see only one gateway subnet can be created and another subnet. Right. So if you want to create more, you can click on this and you can create subnets. And here you would see when you create virtual network, it would automatically create DDoS protection. So DDoS protection is distributed denial of services protection. So for the standard version or the basic version is for free. When you create virtual network, it will be automatically enabled. But if you want a standard version, you need to configure DDoS protection standard subscription, and then you can connect here, right? And then if you go into firewall, you can configure firewall within virtual network. So this is to virtual network protection firewall. So if you go in there, you can configure your firewall attached to a virtual network. So here you can click on this link and you can configure firewall. Let's go to subnets now. And then if I go into any of these subnets, you would see there are important few components associated with a subnet. So one of the components are NSGs, Network Security Gateways. So NSG is simply a packet filtering firewall. So if you go in there, you would see I have attached, I can attach a network security group. In this case, I have attached NSG1, and also I can configure a routing table if I want to. So that will define where to, where we want our traffic to move. So if I go into my network security groups, NSGs, so let me just search there. I have already created a few network security groups. Let me click on that. So you can create this component under network security group, and you can associate network security group component to a subnet. Network security groups that I have already created. How we can create network security group is quite simple. So you go here and click on this option, and then you can provide your subscription resource group, and you can configure other stuff when you're creating network security group. I just want to show you in this short video what are the configurations that we have within network security group. Importantly, the rules. So there are two types of rules: inbound rules and outbound rules. As I said, NSG is quite similar to packet filtering firewall. So there you can configure inbound security rules and outbound security rules. So inbound security groups define where how you want to filter your inbound traffic, which means generated externally and comes inside, or outbound rules whenever you have traffic generated internally and goes outside. So both ways you can configure, and these rules are automatically created. So you would see there is a priority number, and then if you want to create your own rule, you need to specify lower priority number, then it will get high priority. So that is the rules. And if you go in there, you would see if you want to create a rule, if you go click on inbound security rules, So you can create your rules. If you click on add, you can create your own one. And as I said, this defines IP port protocol scenario, which is pretty much simple to simply the same thing that we want to do within using our packet filtering firewall. So inbound and outbound rules can be defined here, and also you can attach network interfaces of our virtual networks here. And also these are common features or functions which comes with any of the resources. For example, activity log and IAM to specify or provide permissions or role-based access controls. And if you go in here, subnets, you can associate this network security group to existing a subnet. So it's association. So if I want to, it's already associated to subnet 1, and if you want to, I can associate the same network security group or packet filtering firewall to any of these subnets. So I hope you understand the concept. So you can create a virtual network which defines the address space, and then within that you can further divide your address space to subnets. So between subnet to another subnet, to control traffic or define traffic routes, so you need to configure routing table. So that also can be done here, routing table. So I'm going to click route tables. So if you go into route tables, you can define your routes. So once you define your routes, you can associate this routing table with a subnet. So routing tables are simply to define traffic or control traffic, and the NSGs, network security groups, can be associated to each and every subnet that allow or deny traffic based on IP port protocol. And then virtual network can be protected using a firewall. And one more thing I would like to show you, that is DNS. So in on-premises networks, we have something called local DNS servers to resolve fully qualified domain name to local IP addresses. So when it comes to virtual networks or virtualization, you can do the same. So if you go into virtual networks, let me find my virtual network here. So if you go into virtual network, again you can associate private DNS servers. In on-premises networks, we define this as a local DNS. In Azure, we call this as a private DNS. So there you can configure DNS zones and DNS entries like A records or various type of records, and then you can assign this private DNS or link this to private DNS. So if you go in there, you should see, so you can link DNS servers there. So if you look at here, you can connect or link DNS servers, DNS entries within a virtual network. So if you search for DNS, you would see there are two types of DNS servers exist within Azure. So first is DNS zones, other one is private DNS zones. So DNS zones are pretty much, you can host your external DNS entries or public DNS entries within Azure. Other option is private DNS zones. So that defines internal DNS resolving. So internally they can resolve DNS, and also you can automate it. Whenever you connect any device to this particular virtual network, it can be automatically updated and automatically resolve IP address. So I hope you understand today session. So I explain virtual network, and then within that subnets and some of the components like NSDs, network security groups, and subnets and routing tables. And once you connected, you can filter out traffic, protect your network, and at the same time you can define rules. So I hope this is informative, and let's go into much details in upcoming videos.